Alliance, represented by Dimitra van der Lans, with the African Union Commission, also through the Africa Energy Commission. Commissioner Amani is with us. So it's really a partnership approach to this topic. Without further ado, I would like to formally open the session and would first of all like to invite Her Excellency Dr. Amani Abu Said, Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy at the African Union Commission, for her opening remarks. Thank you very much.
That one off, or can I speak from here?
You can also.
I was saying the mics are not gender sensitive. We have long hair, so anyway. Good evening, everyone, and I would like to start by welcoming everybody in the Africa Pavilion and the home of Africa here in COP, and also to express my delight to be with my African family, enlarged by other stakeholders. And just to break the news to you, we have long adopted IEA as part of the African family. So. Excellencies, distinguished participants, and ladies and gentlemen, this event marks probably the first, or this COP marks the first time where we see clean cooking elevated at the highest level in terms of recognition and at the highest decision-making level. And to come to here, I mean, to be at this point, this is the result of continuous and strenuous and lots of advocacy and pressure by all concerned. And I do wish particularly to recognize my brother Wimkele and many of you here, the IEA, AFRIC, and of course the ADB, because this has been the work of years for us to arrive to this point. So it's important to underline this. And actually, since 2015, I do recall that we highlighted how much the importance of addressing the clean cooking or the cooking problems and issues and challenges in our continent through the different work that we've been doing in Africa together with the IEA and the different publications. And of course, you all know that how it is. I mean, like 80 to 90% of our population do not have access to clean cooking, and that what is being used, if it's not charcoal or wood or firewood or it's untreated biomass, does not at all, start to even reflect how the issue is complex and how the cost that we are all paying in the continent because of this severe problem. It's true, first and foremost, it cost us almost 500,000 lives, prematurely dead every year, mainly women and children, because of the problems and the smokes, and not to mention the ones who live with burns and other serious injuries. The cost of girls not going to school, or the women not being included, or the employment, and also the cost on the family who lose a mother or a sister. Let alone the cost on climate and cutting the forest in order to provide for the cooking. This is happening in a continent that has abundance of resources and whether renewable or otherwise, that are ready for use in the continent. And I'm really happy that the other team to arrive to here, we are also seeing alliances like the Clean Cooking Alliance and the alliances across the world coming up with different solutions. It's true that in our energy mix and the way Africa has presented its position with regard to energy, we made sure that natural gas is part of this energy mix in order, among other things, to cater for clean cooking. But we also know that there is technologies underway developing, whether it's solar stoves or other, or some electric ones or other types of stoves that could be used for cooking. But there is a gap between R&D in the clean cooking and realities. And we need to see this gap being bridged as soon as possible because the matter is of very high urgency. Now that we are arriving at the point that the matter is, or the subject is on the decision-making table, we need to ally together in order to ensure that there is finance and that there are actions and that leaving COP28, we are going into the direction of implementation and not just talk about the subject. I think there's enough talk, and as we speak, people are dying, and unless we do something very urgent and together, we will not succeed. I am here to listen to you and to, again, to confirm our commitment together with my brothers and sisters across Africa, across institutions, to this very important cause, which I have carried, I must say, from day one that I started my position as African Commissioner for Energy, together with universal access to electricity. So allow me to, again, listen to you and to continue the struggle until we see this happening in the continent. Every woman, child, and man on this continent has to live decently, and we are all here to ensure that this is happening, and soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, for those inspiring words, really underlining the urgency and the partnership approach that is required to address this challenge. It is now my pleasure to invite Dr. Kande Jung-Keller, Chairman of the Special Initiative for Climate Change, Renewable Energy and Food Security in Sierra Leone, who will be delivering a message from His Excellency Julius Maada Bio, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. And I couldn't think of a more appropriate ambassador for delivering that message than you, Kande. You've been championing this cause for more than a decade. So please, Kande, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All protocols are observed before I read the President's speech. Excellencies, it's the first time in 20 years of advocacy that I have seen a clean cooking panel where the men outnumber the women. We're going places. I don't want to say, Commissioner, you engineered it, but somehow your message is getting through. Or is it Dimfna? Well, today I have to behave myself because I'm not talking for myself today. I have to deliver this President's statement because he couldn't be here because of pressing issues. So allow me then to deliver the speech of His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. Excellencies, Dr. Adeshina, President of the African Development Bank, Dr. Fatih Birol, Executive Director of the International Energy Agency, Madam Dimfna van der Len, CEO of the Clean Cooking Alliance, and Dr. Amani Abu Zaid, Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy of the African Union. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm truly pleased to join all of you today to bring attention to the issue of clean cooking. In essence, we are ushering in a new era of advocacy and action for access to clean cooking for our women, our children, and for the climate, and for the benefit of mankind. The truth is, something is wrong when over 3 million people die prematurely each year due to household air pollution, mainly from lack of access to clean cooking. It is not right that the majority of these are women and children. The impact of dirty cooking is also seen in climate change itself. When women cook on open fires using charcoal and firewood, something else is wrong in this society, in our world, when we know the technologies are available to end this. It is important to note that clean cooking is not a woman's problem alone. It is a man's issue also. Just look at who we have here, especially in this room, so many men listening to this call. I want to stand with other leaders, President Ruto and others, as we did at the Climate Summit in September, to say that we will stand together as leaders of Africa to bring clean cooking to the highest political level and make it a priority development issue for the whole world. In Sierra Leone, we consider our women equal partners for development. Under my leadership, we have passed a progressive gender equality bill which guarantees 30% of all official positions in parliament, in the cabinet, and other areas to women. And in fact, just to step aside, this is happening now. Our parliamentary representative moved from 18 women to 42, just by one legislation. The same thing in our cabinet. So I go back to his speech. This is why, consistent with our bill to empower women, we will also address the clean cooking issue as a national development issue. To this end, we recently conducted a climate change and energy resilience dialogue, which will lead to the development of a just energy transition plan, which we plan to launch in June next year. In that plan, clean cooking will be given the highest priority as any other energy access issue. I want to express deep gratitude to our sponsors as we are on this journey, our friends in the Clean Cooking Alliance, in the World Bank, in other agencies as we move this forward. So today, I am very pleased that again at COP28, clean cooking has received significant prominence. However, it's about technology, but it's also about finance. For a long time, clean cooking issues have been treated as orphan issues. We can't even convince our own development partners. Even when we prioritize, they would not provide the resources. But I am sure, looking at this distinguished panel, especially with my brother, the president of the African Development Bank here, that now we will see real investment money coming into this sector. With these few words, I wish you well in your deliberations, and I am sure, Kande being there, we will see good results. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kande, delivering those inspiring words from the President of Sierra Leone. And I think if you have a presidential champion of the topic of clean cooking, you can really make the difference. So we're looking forward to that Just Energy Transition Plan and the prioritization of clean cooking to make access to clean cooking a reality in Sierra Leone and beyond. It is now my pleasure to welcome a man who needs no introduction, but I nevertheless do it, my President, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, for his opening remarks.
Thank you very much, my dear brother Yumkela. You are an outstanding director general. Is that what it was? Or, yeah, when you were at UNIDO, and you invited me then to give the speech during your, was it second term? Your second term. So well done, and thank you for all of what you do. Your Excellency, Commissioner Amali Abu-Zaid, the African Union, Dr. Birol, my dear friend, Executive Director, International Energy Agency, Ms. Dinfan van der Lans, CEO of Clean Cooking Alliance, Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I wish to welcome you to this special event on a call to action on universal access to clean cooking in Africa. I wish to say that it is unacceptable completely that in the 21st century, close to 1 billion people in Africa do not have access to clean cooking, mainly in sub-Saharan Africa. They rely on fuel, wood, and charcoal, and other dirty fuels such as kerosene, which causes high levels of indoor air pollution. As a result, 300,000 women die every year, as well as 300,000 children. They die because, put simply, they're trying to cook a very decent meal, what is taken for granted in other parts of the world. Reliance on fuel, wood, and charcoal is leading to massive deforestation, as land use shifts represent the major source of carbon emissions in Africa. The global economic cost of women's time lost in searching for fuel wood has been estimated at $800 billion annually. The health cost is estimated at around $1.4 trillion annually. Globally, universal access to clean cooking solutions will lead to a reduction of 1.5 gigatons of CO2 by 2030, and that is equivalent to all the emissions from aviation and shipping today. Providing access to clean cooking is clearly doable in Africa. Actually, I feel quite embarrassed that this particular issue of just basic cooking is what we have not solved. And I don't think that we should be waiting for the rest of the world to do that for us. Africa must be able to take leadership in this issue and solve it once and for all. It will require $4 billion per year of investment, according to the International Energy Agency. And it can be achieved by providing, according to their analysis, 250 million clean cooking equipment to women by 2030, Dr. Biro, in a report that we jointly launched at the Africa Climate Summit. However, women are not able to afford the clean cooking solutions. Maybe here they can't afford it. To solve this problem, we must take 3 bold and decisive actions. First, national governments must direct at least 5% of the current $70 billion of energy investments annually into the provision of clean cooking solutions. And that, Dr. Biro, will provide us exactly the $4 billion we need annually to solve this problem. Secondly, accessibility and affordability to clean cooking solutions should be assured through the development of liquefied petroleum gas upstream capacity, especially for the production, storage, and distribution infrastructure. I took up the report of the IEA, and I looked at one of the slides you have there. It was the one where you looked at the different kinds of subsidies needed or not for access to clean cooking. Electric stoves, you have improved cooking stoves, and then you have biomass, you have biodigesters. And as I looked at it, the only one that was green, it was a green bar like this, in which you don't need any subsidy, that everybody can afford, is improved cooking with firewood. How can that be an option in the 21st century? We shouldn't even be talking about that at all. It's an embarrassment. And so I really believe that we need to have, when President Samia, when we had Dr. Birol, we were there in that panel, and she launched her initiative in Tanzania. The last thing she did was she turned on the cooker. Every woman, every mother must be able to turn on the gas cooker and cook a decent meal like anywhere in the world. Third, multilateral finance institutions should set aside a significant share of their annual energy financing, specifically in providing clean cooking solutions at scale. This should include concession of blended finance, as well as guarantees to de-risk lending by commercial banks and other financial institutions. To drive these actions, I'm delighted that today the African Development Bank Group, together with the International Energy Agency and the Clean Cooking Alliance, we are launching the Africa Clean Cooking Consortium. The goal of this consortium is not to get together and start talking again about the problem. The goal of this alliance consortium is to drive meaningful transformative change that will assure 100% access to clean cooking in Africa within a period of less than 10 years. To demonstrate my commitment and that of the bank, I stayed up until almost 3 a.m. this morning with my Vice President for Energy. We're talking about how we are going to do this. In fact, I even threatened him. I threatened him that if he didn't do it, I'll replace him with a woman. Of course, he said he would do it. So to demonstrate our strong commitment, the African Development Bank, Daniel, this is not Mickey Mouse stuff now, will now allocate up to 20% of its approved annual lending program for energy towards clean cooking solutions. And that will provide $2 billion towards clean cooking solution over the next 10 years. This will need very strong political commitment. I want to thank President Bio for his amazing leadership of what he's done in Sierra Leone. And thank you, Yumkela. I don't expect anything different because you are the one advising him there. And I'm glad that you said, he said, clean cooking will be given same priorities as any type of electricity. That's exactly what I was saying earlier, and I want to commend the President. So let us be clear that we are going to use resource-based financing to drive accountability for results to achieve the targets that I've just mentioned. Let us prioritize saving the lives of women and children. Let us make it easier for women to cook with dignity and with safety that it requires. Clean cooking will save forests. Clean cooking will save the climate. But most importantly, clean cooking will save lives of women and children. The African Development Bank stands ready to work with everybody, all the partners, to mobilize the resources and the political action and the policy shifts that are necessary to get this done once and for all. So today, I ask that we create a spark that would trigger a movement to resolve this problem that will assure 100% access to clean cooking for women in Africa. I ask you to join this movement. We have no choice. We must develop with dignity, and we will. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President, for those inspiring and very concrete, tangible remarks. I think a clear marching order internally and externally, so we will heed that call. Without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Fatih Birol, the Executive Director of the International Energy Agency, who has been a champion voicing the importance of clean cooking. We'd really like to give you the floor to highlight all the good work that the IEA is doing and the partnership that we're having on the Africa Clean Cooking Consortium.
So, many thanks, dear colleagues. Madam Commissioner said we have adopted the IEA to Africa family. In fact, it's a very good question. When I look at the institutions here, we are the only one who is not obvious that we should be here. Why are we here? Why International Energy Agency? So people call us the Global Energy Authority. We look at all the energy issues around the world, technologies, investments. Why are we involved in this topic? Dear colleagues, before this meeting, I was in a different pavilion, some 300 meters away from here. And we discussed which advanced hydrogen applications can be used to decarbonize the iron steel production. And here we are discussing the clean cooking in Africa. The difference is not 300 meters, it is 300 years. And when we say, all of us here, when we are told, all of us are in the same boat, I don't necessarily think so. Even we are in the same boat, perhaps we are in the different parts of the boats and we want to go to different directions. Without solving this problem, in my view, decarbonize the iron and steel sector wouldn't mean much, at least to me. Why we are at the IEA addressing this issue? Because, to be honest with you, it is not in our charter, it is not in our program of work, because there's a very small, very simple reason. Because in the IEA, we are 400 people, and they have a good heart. Very simple. We believe this issue should be solved because it's a stain on the humanity. If I am an energy person, if I consider myself as an energy expert, if I don't address this issue, even though I know how grave it is, I don't feel comfortable. So it is the reason we have first do the following. We take the issue seriously. Not emotionally, but seriously. We believe in numbers. It is the reason we have a credibility around the world. Biggest investors of this world make their billions of dollars of investments on the basis of the IEA studies. So we look at the issue, first of all. What is the problem? The problem is today, about 82% of the families in sub-Saharan Africa use primitive cooking, number one. Number two, it's a big gender issue. I am saying since 3-4 days. In Europe, in New York, in Sydney, if the women discuss the issue of how many percent of the women in the board, 45%, 50%, this is an important issue, definitely, the equal representation of the different genders. But if there is one gender issue today, you ask me what is the most important one, that the people should feel furious and woke and demonstrate, it is today, according to our study with the World Health Organization, every year 500,000 women die prematurely because of the respiratory diseases caused by primitive cooking. This is unacceptable. And at the IEA, we do not accept this. And which makes the issue even worse. To solve this problem requires, and we made an excellent analysis thanks to my colleague Dan Wetzel and his great team, looking at all the technologies, all the options, it requires $4 billion. You know, in Europe, only last year, we have seen a mushroom of LNG import terminals. One LNG import terminal, which was installed in Europe, within weeks, cost about 25 billion euros. So it means you solve this problem 6 times in sub-Saharan Africa instead of building one LNG terminal. So there is a big injustice here. And as IEA, we thought we are going to solve this. I'm not saying to discuss it, solve this. What are we going to do? I tell you. 3 things are roadmap. Number one, some of you may know, for example, my friend, Dr. Abu Zaid knows, I am at the same time the chair of Davos World Economic Forum on Energy. I am bringing to the energy debate in Davos, where all the investors, all the energy companies and the leaders are, number one. Number two, in February next year again, we have the International Energy Agency has its 50th anniversary. And we have the chair, one of the co-chairs here, the Irish minister. With his support, I am going to make this clean cooking a key topic for more than 50 governments will be presented there as well as the industry. And number 3, as I mentioned several times since a few days here, this spring, I am going to convene a major summit in Paris to bring government leaders around the world, industry, philanthropists, the banks, to solve this problem for once and forever. It is the reason, as I told my friend Kande this morning, when he asked me the question in one of the panels, 2024, okay, we are discussing this issue since many years, many of us, but 2024, ladies and gentlemen, will be a turning point to tackle this issue. And we promise you, as International Energy Agency, and we have a very good track record, when we say something, we do deliver. And you will see, we will make, with the help of all the colleagues here, we are going to make 2024 a turning point to address this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Birol, really setting the course for 2024. We're looking forward to that summit and to delivering concretely on the 4 billion that is required to change the situation once and for all. With that, allow me to introduce Dimfna van der Lans, the CEO of the Global Alliance for Clean Cooking, a champion of this topic, obviously.
Esteemed guests, I'm truly delighted to join you all today. I have to admit personally, it's a little emotional actually, because after so many years of hard work, this is where we are, and this is indeed the moment this is going to change. First, allow me to extend my gratitude to our fantastic partners for their impassioned remarks. Their contributions and dedications show the growing momentum behind achieving universal clean cooking access in Africa, highlighting that the moment for systemic change is here. I look forward to partnering with them on the Africa Clean Cooking Consortium and on the International Summit on Clean Cooking in 2024. It's been more than a decade since the establishment of the Clean Cooking Alliance, an organization I am privileged to lead, which is dedicated to championing sustainable development goals. Today, I stand heartened by the recognition that clean cooking has finally and rightfully claimed its place as the foremost climate and energy issue in Africa, including at this COP. It's a realization that echoes the long-held understanding of African governments, many of which are presented here today, by the remarks of His Excellency President Bio from Sierra Leone, shared through Dr. Kande Yumkela, as well as in the audience and on the panel. They've long recognized that addressing the clean cooking gap isn't just a single priority. It's a nexus priority, intertwining climate, energy, gender, nature, and health. It isn't just an isolated women's issue. It is the issue holding together our ambitions for net zero, just transitions, gender equality, and sustainable development. To put it bluntly, without bridging the access to clean cooking gap, our other aspirations remain hollow. African heads of states and their governments have set ambitious targets, such as Kenya's pledge to achieve universal access by 2028, 2 years ahead of SDG 7. Their call upon the international community for substantial investments underscores the urgency and gravity of this situation. In answer to this call, the Clean Cooking Alliance is leading the development of the Clean Cooking Delivery Units Network, a transformative initiative designed to provide tailored support to national governments in achieving their clean cooking ambitions. By having a clean cooking delivery unit, ministries of energy, ministries of environment can be brought together to build rigorous clean cooking carbon frameworks. Progress against national targets can be tracked and reported. Policies can be refined to encourage more private sector investment. And clean cooking can be embedded into national health, climate, gender, and development agendas in a whole-of-government approach. At the Africa Climate Summit in September this year in Nairobi, the presidents of Kenya and Sierra Leone, together with the Clean Cooking Alliance, announced the inaugural Clean Cooking Delivery Units, a team of experts embedded within the offices of these presidents. But let me be clear, the Delivery Units Network isn't just a promise, it is a potential game changer. Through these units, national governments will outline their priorities, ensuring the right fuel mix and transition plans while receiving vital support for implementation. Because, of course, implementing national clean cooking strategies requires funding. This isn't a challenge that can be solved with incremental funding. It requires a substantial shift in financial commitments. To close the clean cooking gap in Africa by 2030, we need not mere millions, but billions, 4 billion annually in Africa to be precise. Both private investment and public spending in the billions are imperative, and the sector is ripe for these investments, with successful private enterprises, many of whom are present here today, poised for rapid expansion, infrastructure awaiting construction, and governments pledging prioritization. The Clean Cooking Alliance remains resolute in supporting governments, fostering sustainable markets, and attracting diverse capital to the sector, all backed by rigorous scientific evidence and locally owned strategies. The initial strides of the delivery units will serve as templates for other countries. Time is of the essence if we are to achieve SDG 7 by 2030. I'm incredibly excited about our joint endeavors and dedication to fostering positive change as we stand at the cusp of a new era in clean cooking. Let's all persist, CCA, IEA, AfDB, and many others, in shaping a future where clean cooking enriches the lives of everyone in Africa. We must ensure that nobody is left behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dimfna, and particularly highlighting the importance of these delivery units that really take charge and lead the course of action at the national level. It is now my pleasure to invite His Excellency, the Minister Eamon Ryan from the Republic of Ireland, to give a perspective from one of the partners that we hope will support this initiative forcefully. Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I want to make 3 points if I can. And I want to start talking about trillions. Dr. Abazid, we were talking earlier a few days ago that this is a COP when we have to start thinking in trillions. And Fatih has done the data. As he says, we know what we need to do. To stop our planet burning the early part of the next decade, correct me if I'm wrong, Fatih, but it's 4.5 trillion investment in the clean alternative. We have to raise that finance. And is it up to 1.9 trillion of that has to go to developing countries other than China? That's what we need to do for justice and for climate. What gives me hope is that we have some stepping stones that we are taking. The Bridgestone initiative was a stepping stone in the right direction. I think the most significant was the African Climate Summit in Nairobi earlier this year. It was a game changer in how we think and talk and view this whole issue. We need to stake another stepping stone here, and Fatih, I think your leadership, and exactly right, putting this centre stage in the IEA's ministerial, where countries like Senegal and Kenya and others will be able to pick up on what we develop here so we deliver. It cannot be a false promise. Secondly, there's 1 billion figure I might talk to. That's the billion people in Africa who don't have access to clean energy. And that has to be first priority. Climate change is so big. It's such a big issue. It's so difficult. It's so complex. Sometimes you can feel you're carrying the weight of the world. And sometimes I think to make the leap we need to make, we need to bring it back home. We need to relate right back to every home. And every home matters. Every person matters and every place matters. For me, my heart was blown. A few years ago I was at a conference and there was a woman there who she spoke in the most eloquent way. She said, I know nothing about climate change, but I know I look after the hearth in our home and raising my children in a way that is safe and secure for them. This program brings such benefits to people at home, in their health, in the nature around them, in their budget, so they can get through the weeks. Sometimes people say, how can I worry about the end of the world when I'm worrying about getting to the end of the week in paying my way? This can help, this Clean Alliance. The last, third thing, just to say, from a funder's perspective, we're very proud to be involved through the Clean Cooking Alliance in the likes of Kenya, Tanzania, Senegal, the Venture Catalyst, I think you call it, program. Well, the funders there are catalysts. But if we've learned anything in the years in this whole development as a funder's perspective, is that the leadership comes from the local. This is community bottom-up. Yes, funders are vital and important, but it won't work if it's not leadership from the local. And that's how we should design and deliver this. That's what you're doing, which is why we are proud to support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for your support. And I think this underscores again the importance of partnership. I think there are many other partners that want to support and will support this active initiative, whether it's the Nordics, Norway, whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether it's the OPEC Fund for International Development, whether it's the European Commission. So it's really a growth partnership, the baobab tree that we need to make this happen. I would really like to thank all the speakers. I would like to invite, there are kind of 3 additional voices that I would like to give the floor. They were foreseen as a second panel, but we will merge in the interest of time. The first one is really to invite the Minister of Senegal. J'aimerais bien inviter le ministre du Sénégal de partager un peu l'expérience du Sénégal et peut-être faire aussi référence à la transition énergétique juste, le partenariat qui était juste être conclu entre le Sénégal et un groupe de partenaires internationaux. Côté de la Banque africaine, on vous soutient avec le développement de plans d'investissement et je crois qu'on doit faire en sorte qu'une bonne partie, comme le président Adesina a dit, est allouée en fait aux cuissons propres. Donc, Monsieur le ministre, vous avez la parole.
Merci beaucoup. Je voudrais vous remercier, Président Adesina, Dr Fatih Birol, ainsi que tous les panélistes présents à cette rencontre. Je voudrais d'abord, pour débuter mon propos, faire référence à quelque chose d'extrêmement important qui a tout à l'heure été soutenu par le Dr Fatih Birol. Nous sommes aujourd'hui à la COP28 où il est question d'avoir des objectifs de limiter l'augmentation de la température globale à 1,5, de tripler les capacités en énergie renouvelable et de doubler l'efficacité énergétique. Il est beaucoup question de décarbonation, il est beaucoup question de voir comment accélérer la sortie du charbon, mais on oublie hélas les disparités qui existent entre un monde où peut-être on est en train de parler des choses qui peuvent nous paraître très aériennes, avec quelque chose de réel, de logique et qu'on voit tous les jours qui constitue des questions de cuisson. Et je partage parfaitement ce que disait tout à l'heure le docteur Adesina. C'est anormal qu'en 2023, qu'on se mette encore à parler de personnes qui perdent leur vie à cause de problèmes de cuisson. Or, il est avéré qu'avec une étude récente de l'OMS en juillet 2022, que 3,3 millions de personnes, et principalement des femmes, meurent avec des maladies liées à des questions respiratoires. Et cela à cause de l'utilisation du bois énergie. Cela nous paraît tout simplement inadmissible. C'est pour cette raison qu'à mon avis, il y a une nécessité de revoir ce que disait le président de la République, son Excellence Macky Sall, lors de la journée d'ouverture de cette COP28 en plénière. Il disait que nous devons à la fois penser à l'énergie et au développement. Nous avons un double objectif, certes de protection de l'environnement, mais également en même temps de promotion de certaines énergies renouvelables, mais aussi de la protection tout simplement de celles qui sont naturellement exposées à ces sortes de cuissons où on fait un usage massif à ces énergies d'origine biomasse que sont le bois de chauffe, mais également le charbon de bois. Au Sénégal, notre politique en la matière est axée principalement sur 2 choix. D'abord, il faut essayer de favoriser l'amélioration de l'accès aux technologies de cuisson propres à travers la promotion de la filière biodigesteur avec la mise en place au niveau donc, du monde rural de plus de 2300 biodigesteurs, avec d'une part le biogaz qui permet d'accéder à de la cuisson propre, mais d'autre part au bio-engrais qui permet d'accélérer les rendements, ou en tout cas de rendre beaucoup plus rentable l'agriculture au niveau donc, des champs en milieu rural. D'autre part, nous avons aussi pour objectif, avec la politique mise en place par le président de la République, Macky Sall, d'améliorer le cadre réglementaire pour le rendre beaucoup plus incitatif et ainsi permettre à ce qu'on s'éloigne de plus en plus de ces cuissons dites malpropres avec naturellement le bois de chauffe, mais également le charbon de bois. Voilà en quelque sorte les deux axes sur lesquels la politique du Sénégal s'appuie pour essayer de favoriser l'accès à tout ce qui est technologie de cuisson propre avec en ligne de mire, et nous nous appuyons naturellement sur cela, c'est le programme national biogaz. Pour maintenant terminer, je vais faire référence à ce que disait tout à l'heure le présentateur sur le JETP, le partenariat donc pour une transition juste et équitable. Nous avons entendu nous avons écouté et beaucoup entendu tout ce qui a été développé sur la sortie des énergies fossiles. Je disais tantôt qu'il y a un décalage entre les réalités que nous vivons et ce que nous sommes en train quelque part d'entendre. Oui, sortie énergie fossile, mais est-ce que l'Afrique aujourd'hui peut définitivement laisser tomber ce qui est là de mieux, ce qui est là de disponible pour pouvoir se développer, alors que pour ce qui est de l'accès au financement, ça reste un problème. Pour ce qui est du transfert des technologies, ça reste un problème. Et pour ce qui est du développement local aussi, ça reste un problème. Heureusement que nous avons avec nous certains champions, comme la Banque africaine de développement, qui soutient naturellement les efforts pour accentuer notre politique sur une énergie de transition. Tous les JETP reposent certes sur l'atteinte d'un mix énergétique qui doit passer de 30% aujourd'hui à 40% à l'origine 2030, mais auparavant, il va falloir bien sûr exploiter notre gaz qui se veut et qui apparaît comme une excellente énergie de transition qui est beaucoup moins polluante que le charbon, là où cette dernière énergie fossile est encore utilisée dans beaucoup de pays développés. Voilà en quelque sorte ce que je voulais partager avec vous comme information. Je vous remercie.
Merci, Monsieur le ministre, pour ce message. Je crois qu'il faut souligner, pour adresser le problème de l'accès aux cuissons propres, on a besoin de toutes les technologies, et également ça inclut aussi le LPG, très clairement. It's now my pleasure for very, very brief interventions. We are running behind, but I would not kind of want to ignore them. First, I would like to welcome the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Energy of Uganda, and they just launched this afternoon, and I had the pleasure to be there, their energy transition plan. If you could just quickly, very quickly highlight how you're going to achieve the Clean Cooking Challenge.
Thank you. 3 minutes. Yes. We all know the old adage, a happy wife is a happy life. So without a doubt, the subject of clean cooking, which is close to our hearts, not only affects the mothers, sisters, and children, but also affects the husbands. So as a community that has gathered here today, I'm glad that we are having this conversation at this platform. Uganda just launched its energy transition plan today. And in the plan, what has come out critically and supported by the International Energy Agency is that clean cooking stands at the heart of our just energy transition for Africa. It's not enough to have a conversation on fossil fuels and the transition. We must focus on aspects of clean cooking. A quick overview about Uganda and clean cooking. Today, as a country, our modern energy consumption per capita remains at about 30 times lower than the average advanced economies. Without a doubt, solid biomass, largely firewood, charcoal, and bagasse, account for about 90% of our country's energy consumption. So the question is reaching universal clean cooking a steep target? We are saying yes, it is steep, but tenable. So we have set targets, and therefore a goal that in Uganda, we will need to deploy more than 1 million improved clean cooking stoves per year to reach our universal access target by 2030. And we have computed the investment required just on the clean cooking side, looking at LPG, aspects of e-cooking, but also biogas and bioenergy. And you'll be surprised the amount required to achieve this universal access for a country such as Uganda is about $100 million US. So the question is, why are we failing to meet this target? Without looking at the grid solutions and aspects of investment in electricity infrastructure. So we must dwell on this low-hanging fruit. We must ensure that we deploy liquefied petroleum gas, and as a government of Uganda, we are already doing that. We are removing bottlenecks to deployment of LPG, investing in the upfront costs for cylinders and associated accessories, but also aspects of e-cooking. Therefore, reaching universal access is tenable, and together we should be able to achieve that goal. So we look forward to working with our partners to remove as many bottlenecks as we can and ensure that as a country, we join this call to action on universal clean cooking in Africa. And we want to thank all our partners, and we look forward to partnering with a consortium in deploying clean cooking solutions in our countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the coalition, the consortium is growing. The last country voice, I would really ask you to be as succinct as possible, is from Tanzania, the climate envoy, Richard Munyungi. I would also like you to take the floor. The president has just launched also on Saturday a very important drive on clean cooking. So please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Building on Uganda, happy mother, a very happy house, but a happy African woman who is a president is the happy continent. So, for Tanzania, Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan has taken this agenda as a mother, as a person who has lived the life of an African woman. Seriously, and we thank all of you who were there the day before, 2 days ago, to express your support to Her Excellency's sincere move to move the continent towards clean cooking. This is a very, very sincere move from a mother, as I said, and a president. We are ready to work with the consortium. We have met them several times, and we believe this political move, this political push from the only woman president on the continent will make the difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And the targets cannot be achieved without the strong engagement of the private sector. So for 30 seconds each, if you could both join us, we have two representatives here, Peter Scott, CEO of Burn Manufacturing, and Hanan Marwa, Chief and Strategy Investment Officer of Cocoa Networks. If you could just 30 seconds share the private sector perspective. If you come jointly here.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Scott. I'm the CEO and founder of Burn. We're the world's largest cook stove company. Right now, we make 250,000 stoves a month in Kenya. Last week, I opened a new factory in Nigeria that will also produce 250,000 stoves a month in Nigeria, a range of wood, biomass, electric, and LPG stoves. This is the moment for cook stoves. I never thought I would cry over an AfDB pronouncement, but like Dimfna, I almost wanted to cry. I've been in this sector 30 years, and I never thought I would feel emotional about an AfDB statement, so that's beautiful. The most important thing I can say is we need a functional carbon market. So carbon project finance and carbon subsidy is the most important thing. A stove that would normally cost $40, I can bring it to anywhere in the continent for $3 with carbon project finance. The carbon revenue we can generate from that will be something like $70 to $300 per household. So not only is it great for women, for the planet, it's also a positive return. We need an enabling environment from the local government, from all national governments, to have Article 6, letters of authorization, corresponding adjustment. But we're here. We know how to do it. Carbon finance is the way. So please come see me afterwards, and we will solve this together. Hallelujah.
Hi, my name is Hanan Marwa. I'm the Chief Strategy and Investment Officer of Cocoa Networks. Cocoa Networks is the world-leading bioethanol fuel utility for clean cooking. Bioethanol is significantly domestically produced and manages to reach, with the help of carbon finance, reaches those households whom LPG has left behind. The focus on finance is very important, and I would like to thank the Clean Cooking Alliance and all of the partners here for all of the support that you've given us, including in all of the R&D that's allowed us to develop alternatives to the traditional stoves and also to the more expensive gas. But I would just like to make one point, which is please don't forget about fiscal policy. That's the single biggest problem with our expansion. We are very fortunate to have raised a lot of funding on the climate side. We've invested a lot in R&D, but clean cooking solutions, clean fuel, and clean technologies still attract punitive 30–40% fiscal treatment across most of Africa. And I would just say, please don't leave that behind if you want the private sector to be able to come in alongside you. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for those messages. I will not try to summarize this fantastic event. Just to say, and I like to quote Nelson Mandela, who said, "It almost seems impossible until it's done, so let's get it done." And let's take a group picture. Please join as well. If the speakers could have just one group picture.